We are the members of Group C3, and we will be sharing our exploratory analysis on the Airbnb market in LA. Our analysis was targeted towards new entrants to the LA Airbnb market, and our goal was to give them an overview of the market and provide insights on how to succeed as Airbnb hosts. We started by establishing a bird's eye view of Airbnb's growth in LA. So using the number of reviews as a proxy for the number of bookings, we plotted a time series chart, and as you can see, there has been immense growth over the past 10 years. This confirms that Airbnb is an attractive investment and will be lucrative as an alternative stream of income for hosts. So one of the most important things to consider when entering the Airbnb market is understanding the demand and knowing what locations will be the most profitable for a new host. For each listing in the dataset, we had attributes such as the number of reviews, the neighborhood of the listing, and the longitude and latitude data for each neighborhood. Given this data, we wanted to show an overview of the demand by neighborhood so we could easily identify the popular areas and know which locations are best for having a property. Since there are many neighborhoods, we decided a map would be the most efficient way to visualize the data, as we can view all the neighborhoods at once. And then on the map, we plotted the neighborhoods using the geographical data and encoded the number of bookings in each neighborhood using a color scale. After making the first plot, we noticed that it was very difficult to actually distinguish the differences between each neighborhood on the map. So rather than use a continuous scale for the number of bookings, we decided to create bins to group the number of bookings into different buckets and use that to show the differences instead. To create the bins, we first plotted a histogram to understand the distribution of bookings. And then using the histogram, we were able to identify appropriate bins, which we then used to bucket bookings and encode the demand differences on the map. In addition, we removed the background and axes so that the map was the sole focus. So now in the final map, there is a clearer distinction between the low demand and high demand neighborhoods. And then when you zoom into the graph, you can actually point out the popular neighborhoods. So just to highlight a few, we noticed that the Hollywood area was very popular, similar to downtown LA, Long Beach, and Santa Monica and Venice. And now I will hand over to Sahara, who's going to talk about the price distribution.
Price of a listing is another key focus of our analysis. We decided to examine the distribution of Airbnb listing prices by neighborhood. Our data sources are prices as quantitative attributes and neighborhoods as categories. Our goal here was to understand pricing distribution within neighborhoods and also compare them. This gives potential hosts an idea of the pricing range they can charge for their listings and determine if certain neighborhoods have more variation in prices. That is why a box plot was our plotting tool of choice. We filtered for 10 neighborhoods with the highest demand to avoid overplotting and visual clutter. We used individual box plots for each neighborhood. This is a compact way to show distribution across several categories at the same time. We also used color as a channel to identify the different neighborhood categories. As you can see, the names of the neighborhoods are overlapping, making it difficult to read, and the individual box plots are not ordered, making them more difficult to compare and interpret. To address these visual shortcomings, we refined the graph. We switched the X and Y axes to make sure names of neighborhoods were easier to read. We also sorted neighborhoods by median price to make sure that the visualization was easier to interpret. Now, the process of comparing neighborhoods is less cognitively challenging for the viewer. This plot shows that median price charged clustered around $125 per night. There is more variability in pricing in neighborhoods such as Venice and Hollywood Hills, while Echo Park and Silver Lake are less varied in their prices. After understanding the price distribution of listings, we decided to look at the room types which are most in demand. Room types represent categorical data, while number of listings in each category is quantitative. This plot allows the host to easily compare differences and similarities in demand for room types across different neighborhoods and determine what room type they should offer. In order to show proportions of room types belonging to each neighborhood, we chose a stacked bar chart, making comparisons easier. Finally, color is used as a channel to differentiate room type ranging from entire apartments, private rooms, shared rooms, to hotel rooms. Now, I would like to hand it over to Marco to continue discussing our analysis.
There are two types of hosts in Airbnb: superhosts and normal hosts. In general, superhosts have more listings and have prioritized promotions, which also means more income. So we want to visualize their characteristics to see what set them apart. To become a superhost, there are two key main factors: response rate and acceptance rate. We decided to use a scatter plot to look at the relationship between the two factors. However, as we can see, it is heavily clustered on the top right and we cannot get much insight out of it. This makes it very hard to identify, so we decided to zoom in by modifying the XY axis to only show points above 7%. And we changed the color to highlight the requirement in order to become a superhost. We also changed the opacity of the graph, and as we can see, the distribution is actually not evenly distributed, but more clustered around the edges of the green rectangle. In addition, we removed the background and grid lines to ensure the scatter plot is the center of attention. So we can see it's actually a very high requirement and not many hosts are actually qualified. Superhost is only a title. What matters the most is still the experience of the stay. So we want to visualize what are the core amenities that set these superhosts apart, so potential hosts can use it as a reference, which may help to increase their chance of getting a higher rating. With the text data, first we remove the sum of the conjunctions such as and or, since it's not important to our analysis, and we transform the list of keywords to a word cloud using size and saturation to perform grouping. Bigger the word, the more frequent these keywords shows up. We also use double encoding where darker saturation implies higher frequency. This can help our audience to be aware of the difference in frequency even if the size of the text may look similar. For example, coffee maker and hangers may look similar in size, however, the darker color of coffee maker can ensure our audience can interpret it properly. Through this project, it is evident that the visualization plays a crucial role in data science field. Analysis and insights are powerless if it is not communicated properly to stakeholders. With the use of box plot, choropleth maps, stack bar charts, and line chart, we're able to identify interesting dynamics of LA's Airbnb market. We also transformed the lengthy list of amenities into a word cloud, making it a lot easier to read compared to a spreadsheet or a bar chart. When visualizations are executed correctly and refined through techniques like removing the background to reduce chart junk, changing opacity to reduce clustering, these visualizations really help to convey a more meaningful story and help the user perceive the information in a meaningful and seamless way. Thank you.